Temperature is around 25.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I need to leave a little earlier as well. I just got my son arriving. I'm traveling for business, and I still need to get ready. I didn't yet. So anyway, okay, so July the 14th, and we just started as usual. Let's start with our prayer.
No, it's
And-
July 15th.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. See, I am in a hurry, so I'm yeah. Thank you. Thank you. July 15th. So let's start our study today with a prayer, and just take a deep breath and take a moment to relax, inviting our mentors, our spiritual guides, to be here with us today, and certainly they are, because here we are again to study the spirit teachings, and so let's elevate our thoughts and start with our prayer. Our source in the spiritual realm, we celebrate your presence with us here today and now. Let us be guided by unconditional love and be of service for the highest good. We thank you for the abundance we receive every day, and please forgive our mistakes as we forgive those who cause us difficulties. Help us to fulfill our purpose, uphold our values, and be understanding and compassionate. We ask you for your guide and protection for our lives and the life of our family members and our friends. And especially today, we ask for the well-being of Hyacinth, her heart, but also for the well-being of every single member of this group, here with us today or away. It doesn't matter. It is a beloved member of this group. Set your way before us, Jesus. May we make a difference in this world for your glory and purpose. With all our love. Amen.
Amen.
And so be it.
And so be it. So guys, before we go to the book, I'd like just to remind you about our gathering, September the 7th to 10th. So we have a program where we close, I mean, we got the topics and the agenda. I'm gonna send the agenda to you pretty soon. But I just want to say as well that we have a house. It's a very nice house, simple stuff, not really, fancy. Is like
a dorm,
a ranch house, vacation house, but it's very nice, relaxing, so just showing you guys some pictures, so perhaps some of you will get motivated to come, right, Pisces? And it is so very pleasant place located in the countryside of Lagoa Santa, which is a small, how can I say, it's not a subdivision, but it's a small city nearby the main city that is like a suburb, sort of, to Belo Horizonte. So the house that Luis found, very nice, very comfortable. I'm pretty sure everybody will enjoy. Like I said before, Sonia Rinaldi is coming to visit with us, and she's very happy about it. She will show us some of the things that she will be discussing, top secret, she'll be discussing later in another venue. But we'll have a premiere, if you will, of what she's gonna be showing them. So it's gonna be a great time for us to meet with her, ask questions, and talk about it, all the investigations and researches that she has. But being the case that we will be located in Lagoa Santa, I would like to also show you that Lagoa Santa is a very known archaeological site. And
Wow.
there has been a lot of interesting studies being done in the past and recently as well. So they found some species that is probably I want to say something between 12 and 14,000 year old, some skeletons. And being this one, which her name is Lucia, I found very interesting. They put this name Lucia because the name of Lucia means light. So they found this, and that is one of the oldest species ever found in the entire American continent. So it was found there in Lagoa Santa. Lots of places with, you know, beautiful scenes. Yeah, like
Wall paintings, beautiful.
yes, they are. Yeah. So there is special how can I say, tours just to go around those places and visit, you know. Yeah, very nice. So it's not just about, oh, by the way, that place as well is very famous for the food and sweet, and so it's going to be a very nice time, you know. I'm pretty sure that we'll gain some weight after the meeting. But anyway, like I told you before that I would bring some topics and that I found interesting in this book that I read. So I brought over here the last topic that I would like to comment with you, and it's a very interesting one. It's about Mary and her meetings or her encounters with Jesus after crucifixion. So so in this specific case here, evidently all the things that we'll be reading here is it was channeled by Chico Xavier, so Chico Xavier, and the spirit was Humberto de Campos. Okay, so this is not something that what we are going to read over here is not something from the Bible, even though sometimes we see a lot of similarities, but those were messages received by Chico, and it was by the spirits of Humberto de Campos. So at the first text, if you will, that we are going to read here is about Jesus' appearance after his death. So his first appearance to the apostles. So the book says, and forgive me for my translation. The book, there is no translation to English, so this is a free translation, and evidently I'm not professional. But I hope you guys will understand. So the first paragraph here says, all companions, apprentices, followers, and beneficiaries requested the cooperation of their physical senses to feel the presence of the risen divine. So this is when Jesus is showing up, appearing for the first time after the crucifixion, his death. They used their mortal eyes, managed their sense of touch, sharpened their ears. just to verify, to confirm that they were actually looking at Jesus himself. There was, however, someone who dispensed with all the mental touches and associations, voices and visions. It was Mary, his divine mother. The beloved Son lived eternally in the infinite world of her heart. His voice vibrated in her soul, and to understand his survival, it was enough to penetrate the illuminated sanctuary of herself. Could her Son, her love, and her life possibly die? And despite the distressing longing, she consecrated, I guess that's how, herself to faith in the spiritual encounter in the divine plan, without tears, without shadows, and without death. So that's how she saw him for the first time. So she didn't doubt a single moment that the person she was looking at, it was in fact her Son, because she truly believed that her Son was capable to overcome death. Okay, so she didn't doubt it was her Son, and she was very happy about it. Now, in the second moment in the book, then it says that Mary, after a few years, Jesus was dead. Mary accepted the invitation of John to go to Ephesus. And John did that, offering his protection to Mary. At that point, she was, a lady. I do not know how old she was, but she was not very much young. So he was offering his protection as a son and inviting her to go to Ephesus. And back then, at that time, John was giving a small house that was located, I want to say, like 3 miles or so away from the main city, Ephesus. And that little house, poor little house, was a little close to the ocean, because it talks about the ocean and the wind blowing and the perfume, etc. So Mary was there while John was traveling to Ephesus, or going to Ephesus to talk, and to talk about the word and to talk about Jesus' message. And Mary, back in the house, she was receiving travelers, people visiting, people in need, sick people. She was helping, like what we see, what we see today, like what Mother Teresa did, and so she was helping those folks in need. And then one day, many years after, I want to say as well that while she was in Ephesus, then the apostles, they were visiting her in that little house, and one of them, Paul. But Paul was back and forth of the times he was traveling, and he wanted to collect Mary's memories. So at some point, he asked Luke to go there and take the time to get Mary's memories. And thus we have today the Gospel of Luke, but in reality it was, the memories of Mary. So many years passed. Some of the apostles, they were already dead, or they were already killed. And then we have, the book talks about this. Despite the solitude, it's talking about the place she was, the house. Despite the solitude of the environment, she did not feel alone. A singular force bathed her whole soul. Soft breezes blew from the ocean, spreading the scents of the night that had friendly and affectionate stars, and in a few minutes the moon was equally participating in this concert of harmony and light. Enraptured in her meditations, Mary saw the figure of a beggar approaching. My mother, at that point, everybody coming to the house was calling her as a mother, was talking to her and making reference to her as a mother. My mother exclaimed the newcomer, like so many others who resorted to her affection. I come to keep you company and receive your blessings. Maternally, she invited him, impressed by that voice that inspired deep sympathy in her. The pilgrim spoke to her of heaven, gently comforting her. He commented on the divine beatitudes that awaited all the devoted and sincere children of God, implying that he understood the most tender yearnings of her heart. Mary felt excited by touching surprise. What beggar would be the one who soothed her secret pains of the yearning soul? Until then, none had appeared to her to give something away. It was always to ask for something. However, that unknown traveler poured out the most holy consolations in her heart. Where had she heard that sweet and affectionate voice in other times? Her eyes moistened with bliss without being able to explain the reason for her tender emotion. It was when the anonymous guest extended his generous, and then there was a dialogue, I'm just, making sure. It was when the anonymous guest extended his generous hands and spoke to him with a deep accent of love. My mother, come to my arms. At that moment, he looked at the noble hands that were offered. This is a mistake. She looked at the noble hands that were offered to her. There were ulcers caused by the nails of the torture. And then she cried out with infinite joy, my son, the ulcers that they made to you. And rushing towards him like an affectionate and caring mother, she wanted to make sure, touching the wound that had been produced by the spear close to the heart. And there it was, the side wound too. She couldn't control her joy, made a movement to kneel down. He, however, getting her up, surrounded by a halo of celestial light, knelt down at her feet and kissing her hand said, yes, mother, it is me. I come to look for you because my father wants you to be the queen of angels in my kingdom. So here we have guys reading this book, and it's something that you can, it's so beautiful, the images and the scenes that they describe is something really beautiful. Now, what called my attention, and I would like to ask this question to Luis, and evidently whatever we say here is going to be our personal opinion, because Humberto de Campos is just describing what happened, but I can't help but think about, okay, so in the first moment after Jesus' death in the cross, so she saw him for the first time, and she didn't doubt it was him. But then, many years later, she met him again, but she didn't identify him the first moment. She had to see and touch the wound to actually confirm. She could see that the voice was somewhat familiar, but it's still the way that the person was looking and the voice was not enough for her to realize she was looking, she was in front of Jesus. So, Luis, how do you think we can explain this? Perhaps because Jesus was a very elevated spirit, and how do we explain that in the first moment she was able to recognize him at once, but in the second moment, many years after, she had to see and look for the signs to confirm it was Jesus. What do you think?
Yes, can you rewind a little bit to the first text when they start speaking about the way she believed in this
Yeah.
one. There was, however, someone who dispensed with all the mental touches and associations, voices and visions. So she didn't need them to believe that he was alive, right? The beloved Son lived eternally in the infinite world of her heart. His voice vibrated in her soul, and to understand her survival, it was enough to penetrate, illuminate the sanctuary of herself. Well, it happens, I think, just like it happens to us. For example, we are spiritists, we believe in spirits, and many people, they believe in spirits because they feel spirits exist. They have this inner intuition. But if they go into a materialization meeting, they can even doubt, because they are not used, because the matter in itself is so dry, so without vibration, that it can. I've already seen the spiritists that went to materialization and they felt less the spiritual vibration than when they are in a mental mediumship meeting.
Wow.
You understand? So I said, it was funny. I saw the spirit of my uncle there, but when I am in a mental mediumship meeting, I feel his presence so much stronger, and I feel him in my heart, his connection with me. And there I could see him. I could even greet him and shake hands with him, but I didn't feel so much because he was materialized. Maybe this is one explanation, because she was so used to having the sensation, the spiritual sensation of Jesus, that when Jesus materialized in front of her, she had to check.
Yeah, that's right. Because in the first, in this moment right here, remember that that first materialization, it was not complete to the point that he says, I'm not ready. That's what he says.
Don't touch me.
Don't
just
touch
like
me.
a materialization for sure. Don't touch me.
Yeah.
Right. From Madeleine to Madeleine, he said, no, don't touch me because I haven't gone yet. So if you touch me, some physical mediums around in the neighborhood may suffer. Yeah, because he was removing ectoplasm for anybody else, right?
Yeah.
And that's
so in this, and then in the second moment, I thought, okay, so now she's like, an elderly
Yes, there's another
When-
point. This is more than 30 years later.
Yeah.
And I think this was the moment just before she was leaving the body to discarnate, for sure.
Well, this
wasn't it?
was the moment, this moment when he says, come to my arms.
Mhm.
Yeah, she that from that moment she's no longer talking, and then she dies according to the book the day after
Yeah, during the night.
during the
Yes.
night, yeah. So
Yeah.
around the folks, you know, some folks
Yes,
stayed there.
so she was really old and right.
She was old. Yeah, she was
debilitated.
very old.
And
Yeah.
there's a point. Do you know that once I researched and the actual Maria's house that tourists go to visit these days is in Ephesus, and I think it has a great possibility to be this one that the tourists go and visit in Ephesus.
Reading this book, I
Yes,
really wanted to
Maria's house.
visit.
You can
Yeah.
go to YouTube and see where the house is, right?
Wow.
The house is still there.
It's still
Is
there, isn't
there?
it? I see.
Well,
Yes.
I'm gonna go, guys. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I've been in Ephesus.
Yes, there's a fountain
You've
of
been
water
there,
there.
Hyacinth? Oh my
I've
God!
been in
I've
Wow.
already
Ephesus.
dreamed about that place, right? Visiting that place in my dreams, right? And look, we have to pay attention to what these things are revealed, because I've already talked to priests and Catholic nuns like Nun Aila. I have already introduced her to you once. She was saying when she reads those books by Chico Xavier that talk about these different and new information on Christianity, she gets really surprised, and and many times the information goes against some studious, some people who study the Bible all over the world, because she herself, she's already worked with the people of the so-called CNBB, which is Brazilian Confederation of Bishops in Brasilia. She helped them, so she has a lot of knowledge in the field. She has a doctorate over the epistle of the to the Hebrews, right, by Apostle Paul.
Mhm.
And she's really amazed at the information that Chico Xavier brings in his books about Christianity. He had a kind of mission of recovering the real information of what really happened in the past, right? And if you go on to research about that, for example, in the book, Paul and Stephen,
Mhm.
psychographed by him, according to Chico Xavier, the greatest book he's ever psychographed.
I love that book. To me,
There's
it's
there are lots of revelations about Christianity, and one of them, he said that the city of Corinthus
Mhm.
had luxurious streets, but then they discovered, archaeologists, archaeologists, I don't know in English, they discovered that many of the streets of that city was made by marble.
Wow.
So I think the details like this, and revelations like this are very funny, very interesting.
Yeah.
And by the way, speaking of revelation, for those who come to Brazil, I will secretly speak to you about the deported spirit, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, the Aryans, and us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Something that sometimes you cannot speak here on the web.
I've been in Corinth also, but I haven't seen the marble street.
Streets, this is.
Oh, marble is
These
very
are
soft
our
material.
researchers
Yeah.
that maybe are under.
Yeah.
We were under the tree that St. Paul preached under.
Well,
Does it still exist? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Okay, so let's keep going, and am I still sharing? Okay, so we finished last time question A54, law of liberty, And the topic is still fatalism. Given the inevitability of our time of death, are the precautions we take to avoid it useless? And the answer naturally no, because those precautions are suggested to avoid any danger that threatens you. They are one of the means used to prevent death. So now, okay, so I'm not in the book. What is the book? Here. A55. Am I sharing the right?
Mhm.
Okay. A55. Why does Providence make us encounter dangers that have no result? What do we think? Any guess, comment? Why does Providence
Does it
make
have
us
no
encounter
result?
that have no result? Like, dangers that actually, you almost die, you don't. Like, that's how I interpret this question. Something almost happened to you, but it doesn't. No comment? Yes, Gloria, please.
What comes to mind is life lessons.
Mhm.
When those kinds of things have happened to me in the past, it's like a wake-up call. It brings me more consciousness, more awareness, more appreciation for life.
Yeah.
Although I'm really excited to go to the other side. I intend to wait because there's so much more possibility for learning here. But
Mhm.
that's what I would think. It's to make us be grateful too. So
Yeah.
there are several elements to it that I could see would be advantages.
Yeah. Yesterday I was reading a book, and finally something came to my mind, because it was so obvious, but still it seems like you have to be in a certain context to understand simple things. So the book was talking about, lessons that we learn when we are in the spiritual realm, but then it's easier to understand when you have more information, when you can see the whole picture. Now, once you are in this journey, in this body, you do not have all the information, you do not have the clarity as like the spirit does, like your soul once is, out of the body. So, but if you understand, if you comprehend something, if you grasp a lesson, that is really meaningful. This is a really, really deep kind of understanding, because even though you do not have all the picture, you do not see the whole picture, you do not have all the information, but in your heart, you got the message. So I guess that's the value of those lessons, right? So Gloria, would you please read the answer? Can you do it?
Sure. The question, why does Providence make us encounter dangers that have no result? When your life is in peril, it is a warning to turn you away from wickedness and leave you better off. When you escape this danger, and while still feeling the emotions stimulated by the danger you encountered, you think according to the degree in which you are influenced by good spirits to mend your ways. If a bad spirit dominates, in using the word bad, I'm referring to the evil that is still within that spirit, you think that you will escape other dangers in the same manner, and once again, you give free rein to your passions. Through the dangers that you encounter, God reminds you of your weakness and the fragility of your existence. If you examine the cause and nature of the peril you have escaped, you will see that in many cases, its consequences would have been the atonement of some fault you have committed. or some duty you have neglected. God warns you to reflect upon and correct your faults. Ah, warnings. Okay, warnings.
Warnings. Yeah. Yep. Any comment, folks? Luis, if you are talking, you're on mute. I see your mouth moving.
I was just commenting with Lydia here, right? Yeah, because I've already seen many people who have been have had a close call,
Mhm.
and they usually say, I was born again. This was another chance for me because I had a chance of giving second thoughts for other things I was doing that when it was not fine. So it really helps as a warning many times we need.
Yeah,
All right, okay.
thank you. Carol, please.
So I'm left brained too much. So wouldn't the result be that God warns you to reflect upon and correct your faults?
Yes.
So I don't
Exactly.
understand how they can say, why does providence make us encounter dangers that have no result if the result is God warns you to reflect upon, do you know what I'm saying? That
Yeah,
doesn't-
I got your point. Yeah. you
Yes, I
have a-
think the Spirit said, no, you're right, you're wrong. There is a result. That's what they say.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, they said, no,
There is
your
a-
question, yes.
there is
Your
a
question doesn't, yes.
Because that's, I mean, I was seeing a result. So
Yes.
Yeah.
They
So-
say,
Yeah,
no,
the
there is a
result is-
result.
Yeah, remember, result from the matter of fatalism, right? So that's what we are talking about. So it
Yes, you
almost
have to
happened, but it
remember.
didn't.
You have to remember that Allan Kardec was a skeptical guy from the beginning, from scratch. So many times he asks questions that are kind of nonsensical, right? Just to test the spirits. Many times he repeats the same question with other words to see if they are going to answer the same way. So
Yeah.
this is one of them, maybe, yeah.
thank you.
And as a matter of fact, okay, Gloria, go ahead, please.
Well, an example that I've told before that comes to mind for me now is the time I was driving friends home and we were stopped at a blind stoplight and it changed. And I heard a voice say, wait, when the light changed to green. And I didn't pull out into the intersection. And my passengers both said, aren't you going to go? And a car went by at a tremendous speed through the
Mhm.
red light for that car. And we would have all been killed, that person and us. I mean, it was just an incredible speed. And after that, I thought, you know, there are lots of times when I'm given messages and I don't pay attention. And
Mhm.
that time I paid attention. It was reinforcing how important it is to pay attention when we're given such obvious messages.
Keep that channel open, channel of communication open, right? So yeah, go ahead, Liz.
Well, that brings up a very important stuff for us to one day talk about, because the spirits say that many things happen in our lives because we don't pray or meditate.
Mhm.
Because by not praying or meditating frequently, we lose intuition. And sometimes very necessary intuition. I know some stuff because the spiritists and sometimes the spirituals are very karmic oriented people, right? Oh, the brick fell on my head because last reincarnation, I threw a brick somebody's head. And sometimes the spirit says, no, because you haven't been praying. We're trying to warn you. But the day you were walking on that street, we tried to shout at your ears, but you were too much focused on your physical things, too much materialized in your mind. So this is a karmic consequence of your not having the habit of praying or having the intuition, tuned out, right? So this is a very interesting thing. The more you become, look, great men in humanity, they just don't start working without praying a lot, without meditating 1-2 hours a day, right? Because we are in the jungle. this planet here is a jungle. And if we don't have this habit, we make lots of mistakes daily. And of course, sometimes, like in the case of Gloria, the thing was so urgent and so important that sometimes the spirits have the license from up above to, you know, crash the line and give us the right intuition at the right moment.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And that, yeah, I completely understand what you said, Gloria, because it did happen to me the same thing.
Sure.
And as a matter of fact, it did happen to me also the opposite. I was stopping at the red light, and there was absolutely nobody else but me, and I was in the middle lane, and I did stop. It was 8 o'clock at night, nobody on the street, just me. And then this voice told me, move to the other lane. And I said, why? There's just me, myself, and I, nobody else. And then the voice said, move. So I said, okay, I hope nobody's looking at me doing this silly thing. I'm just moving. I moved. So next minute, another car just, you know, stopped at the red light beside me. And then I was looking at this guy, said, okay, so it was just me to move away, you know, and make the lane to be available for this guy. Well, the next second, someone speeding like crazy, just boom, on the back of the car right next to me. To the point that the car was, you know, ejected and crossed the whole, you know, lane, and it was awful. It was awful. So yeah, but the question also brought me another idea, because when reading this book of Mary and some other books as well from Chico, Xavier, and Emmanuel, they constantly say that some of the folks that Jesus cured, they got sick again. Like, remember what Jesus used to say, you know, after healing the person, he said, okay, go back and do not do the same things, right? Otherwise, you the message was, if you keep on doing what you were doing, you'll get sick again. So, so in a sense that the illness was like a warning, right? So if you don't do it, if you do not change your behavior, or, you know, if you do not learn how to forgive, love, etc., 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 then the consequence will be get ill again, right? I guess. Okay, so next is 856. Do spirits know how they will die beforehand? I want to say yes, but we try to deny. Do spirits know how they will die beforehand? What do we think? Giles.
That's, of course, a complicated one, because if you have arranged, as many people do, then, of course, jumped in here and said, there are many early exits from your incarnation, whereas my opinion is that there are rarely a few possible exits from your incarnation. So does the spirit know beforehand the kind of death it will succumb to in early life? Well, the answer is no, because unless when it's picking one of these earlier exits, then it's picking an early exit. Then it does know beforehand, but about 10 seconds. And otherwise, normally it will go through until whatever it's the arrangement is that it has planned, the spirit, it being he or she, has planned for that incarnation. That's my opinion. Anyway, Luis, you got a better opinion, I'm sure.
No, the same one, corroborate with you is, I will give an example. Sometimes when I went to Chico Xavier psychographic sessions to the public, many times we're youngsters. And of course, bringing all the details. Once I saw him, Chico Xavier cited about 12 nicknames from people of the family. And of course, the mother fainted and so on and so on. And in these messages, some youngsters were saying, it was not programmed for me to depart at that moment, but I was really abusing of some things. I was being not very careful, and I was complicating my karmic life in the future. So to help me, my mentors decided that I should leave, right? I should exit, as you said. So
Before
it
you
was
do
not
more
in the program.
wrongdoings.
Yes, so to avoid it, so for his merit, for the youngster's merit, they had this license of removing him from the body in order that he didn't do so bad, right?
Yeah, but in this case,
reset, right? To reset his opportunity.
in this case, we are talking about a backup, a fallback plan, right? So it was not planned that way. It was planned to be
So-
differently, right?
And
I
maybe
guess
beforehand, if he knew beforehand, as the message is saying, that's the question is saying, he knew beforehand, suppose you're going to exit by the time you are 95 years old, I suppose. But as
Don't
he was
ask
doing
me,
that-
yeah, don't ask me why, but there are certain type of death that I really know I'm not gonna get it. No.
I'm not gonna
So,
what?
you know, do you want to know one of them?
Anna.
Is airplane.
Anna,
So just a sec.
certain type of death is just so easy. You're such a good person that when the time comes, you'll
No,
do
no,
it
no.
in your Barker lounger and you won't even know it's happened.
I'm not
and
talking
it's-
about this. So for example,
So,
airplanes. I've been in situations that everybody was screaming and I was having fun, like a roller coaster. Because I knew, don't ask me why, I knew if I was there in that airplane, I would not dive out of it, you know. So
You're not the only one that's had that experience. I've had that experience on a plane to Sweden from Denmark. So there.
So okay, so the passengers with you or with me will be the lucky one because that plane is not gonna crash. Don't ask me, but the thing is, many years later, I was in a spirit center and then I was told that it is not meant for me to die in in accidents like that. So how I knew, I have no idea. But
maybe
somehow,
we're one of the brothers, right? Or sent to the moon, my last reincarnation.
no, I wish. No, I do not have that privilege. But what my question is, don't we know our plan or reincarnation plan? So then we probably will know the natural cause of our death, right? If we know the reincarnation plan, I guess. All right, any more question or comment?
Yeah, I have to mention something. You say knowing the spirit's plan. This is a very bad idea. This is why we have one of the two miracles, the miracle at birth when we forget everything.
Mhm.
And there's a very, very good reason for forgetting everything, which is so we take this life seriously and pay attention to the challenges. Because if we didn't forget, we would know about our real home, and we would refuse to meet the challenges. We're not that stupid, but we are stupid enough that we need a memory wipe so that we can go ahead and meet our challenges properly. There's no getting around it. It's one of the necessary realities of an incarnation. And yes, it's not always perfect, because always there are possible, let me see, screw ups, I think is the right word, where things don't go quite as according to plan. And that happens left, right, and center. And if any of you have ever been in a farm in lambing time with a sheep farm, then you will know what I'm talking about.
Mhm. Yeah, agree. Thank you, Giles. All right, so I think this is the, oh no, I still have some. A57, there are
We
those.
didn't read the answer, did we?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. If this, do spirits know how they will die beforehand? Then the answer is based on the life they have chosen. They know that they have exposed themselves to die in some particular manner rather than in another. But they also see the effort they will have to put forward in order to avoid it. They know that, God willing, they will escape it. Questions, comments, concerns? Nope.
Anna, we need to leave now, okay? Guys, thank you very much for being here. Miss
Thank
you
you,
all.
Luis.
Great to see
Yeah.
you all. And be here next week
you.
for full time.
See you.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye. So A57, there are those who brave the perils of war, fully convinced that their time has not come. Oh, silly folks. Are there any grounds for this confidence?
I guess some people know when their time will come. Others don't.
I want to say when it's close, right? When the time is close, because so for example, I have this uncle, and once he departed from his city and his state, he went to Rio de Janeiro at a very, very early age. And then over there, he got married, he had his family, and then it took him many, many years to come back and visit his family, relatives, etc. Evidently, he was visiting his parents, but not the relatives, the cousins, etc. So after many years, he's saying that, oh, I want to go back. I want to visit them. I want to visit them. So one day he just went. And sure enough, months after, he died. So it was like, and it was so funny because he took like an entire month to visit one by one the whole folks that he really wanted to meet. And after that, he died. So who
Something
knows?
similar happened with my mom. I called her up. She was in North Carolina and I was in Delaware. And I said, I'm going to come and get you and take you to see your family. It was time. It wasn't something she had asked for. She said, oh, okay. And we set a date and I rented a car and I went and picked her up and I took her all the way to Indiana. She visited her 3 sisters and her brother. Within 6 months, she was the only one left. We had a great visit with all of them. They all passed. They were elderly, but they all passed. And it was just before the end of that year, she was the only one left. Her brother and her 3 sisters.
Wow.
Gone, left. So it was just, again, something told me, get your mother over there.
Yeah, what you did, it was exactly the same thing that my cousin did. Exactly. Yeah.
It was amazing. No, I mean, it just unbelievable. Yes.
Yeah.
God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, who knows? So there are those who brave the perils of war, fully convinced that their time has not come. Are there any grounds for this confidence? And the answer: individuals often have a premonition of their end. On the other hand, such individuals may also have a sense that their time of death has not yet come. This intuition is due to the action of their proactive spirits who warn them to be ready to go or boost their courage when they particularly need it. It may also come to them from the intuition they have of the life they have chosen or of the mission they have accepted that they know they must fulfill. Yeah, that's true. I see some folks, I can see some folks saying, you know, they were not going to die until they do this, this, and that. Right? Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they have time to do it.
Yeah. It's a confidence that sometimes we have out of, we just don't know, right? Okay, so A58, how is that those who have premonition of their death generally dread it less than others do? How is that those who have a premonition of their death generally dread it less than others do?
I guess because they know it's happening and it's inevitable. They can't stop it.
Yeah, yeah. I remember once I got a diagnostic from the neurologist, and he was telling me that if I didn't do anything, then he'll give me 6 months. So the entire family was desperate. I had a son, just one son, small one, and somehow I just knew it was not my time. It was not my time. And I decided not to operate, and here I am to today. So, however, at that exact same time, no, it was a little bit, yeah. I had someone telling me that someone in the family was departing. Evidently, at that time, then I thought, okay, so maybe perhaps it's me. But it was my father, so it was my father, the time for my father to go. But you know, it was, I don't know, we just. So how is that those who have a premonition of their death generally dread it less than others do? It is the human being and not the spirit who fears death. That's true. Individuals who have a premonition of their death view it as a spirit rather than as a human being. Wow, that's a nice explanation. They understand that it will be a release to freedom and await. Yeah, that's yeah. I swear that must be really awesome. Any comment there? Nope. And A59, if that is inevitable as its appointed time, does this also apply to all the accidents that may happen to us over the course of our lives?
I think if we have an appointed time, then whatever happens, we go on until the appointed time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, agree. Yeah. And it's kind of what the answer says, you know, they're often small enough that we can warn you against them. We, I believe they're talking about we as a spirits, and sometimes they sometimes help you avoid them by directing your thoughts, like happened to Gloria, because we do not like physical suffering. So if it was not for her to suffer that accident, then why doing it? All this is of little importance to the life you have chosen. Fatalism truly is the hour at which you were born into and exit the physical life. Yeah, wow. Wow. Yeah.
Well, you know, when I was having my accident, my car accident, when I realized that I was actually overturning, my car was overturning, which is how my father died. I thought, well, then I will die. So there's nothing to do but relax. Here I come, Pops.
Wow.
And I
Mhm.
was completely unhurt. The car was a wreck, but I was complete. They pulled me out through the window, and I looked at it and thought, how in hell did I do that?
Yeah. Wow. It was not your time.
Not my time.
So the letter A, are there incidents that must occur in a life and that spirits cannot help you avert? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, yeah, I agree. Yes. Yes, but you saw those incidents when you choose your life as spirit. Nevertheless, it would be wrong to assume that everything that happens to you was written in the stars. As people say, an event is often the consequence of something you have done by an act of your own volition. Had you not done that thing, the event would not have taken place. If you burn your finger, it is a trivial inconvenience resulting from your own carelessness and a consequence of matter, not destiny. Only great sorrows, serious events that are capable of influencing your moral state are predestined by God because they will be useful to your purification and education.
Okay.
So that's how I take when incidents like what Gloria was mentioning, you know, the entire family, the whole folks in the car would die. I mean, what lesson, what education could you take out of it, right? Go ahead, Gloria, please.
This week is the 3-year anniversary of my grandson dying. And Carrie McLeod brought him through a medium, brought him through 5 days after he passed.
Mhm.
And it was a beautiful message. And what he said to my son was, Dad, you always taught me to be responsible, and I wasn't being responsible. And it goes with what you just read as the answer. And a couple of weeks ago, a medium brought him through again for me. And he said the same thing, you know, there's a question about my death and how I died, but it's on me. It was his volition. He did it.
Mhm.
And it was his choices that caused him to exit at that time, as young as he was.
Wow.
So yeah, Giles, an early release. I think the way he was living his life at the time was causing too much pain for the whole family.
Mhm.
He was experimenting with things, and it was painful because he was so intelligent and so gifted in so many ways. And for him to, as we saw, throw his life away with experimenting with drugs, it was just it was his responsibility, you know. And that's a hard thing for his parents to accept, and yet their life was hell. You know, with worry, and they don't worry anymore. I'm very grateful to Spirit for bringing him through twice, and for him to say, you know, it's on me. It's on me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. It's a very powerful story, and at the same time, it is exactly what Louise was saying, right? So why carry on? Keep on carry on that living if it was, I mean, if he would not be able to get out of that situation of, you know.
And he's come through with both of his grandfathers, so I know he's in good hands now, because
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
yeah, that gives me a lot of peace.
Well, in these cases, I keep on thinking what Giles always says, and there's always happy ending. So yeah, so he came over here for a period of learning, and he didn't use well his opportunity. Time to reset and, you know, get ready for next time.
I like my girlfriend's version of that. She says, every story has a happy ending. And if it isn't happy, it's not the end.
It's not the
yet.
end yet. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, someone said that there are people, entities who are born and just take one breath on earth because that's all they need. They don't stay.
Mhm.
So we don't really know what's going on with each person.
Mhm. Yeah. When is the right time? And yeah. So folks, it's 4:10 here in Houston. I need to get going. I have my son over here, but it was a pleasure to meet you all, and I hope to see you next Saturday then. All right.
Thank
Everybody
you.
take
You
care.
have a wonderful week.
Yep,
Mhm.
everybody, you all
Goodbye.
too.
See you tomorrow.